In this video about the KCAD Digital Art and Design Augmented Reality Framework, I'm going to talk about the web application and some of the technology used to build it. So this is a web app, sometimes referred to as a progressive web app, which is, there are certain criteria that will make it a progressive web app according to certain browsers and platforms. But ultimately, it's just a term that means a website that we can get to at a particular address, like any other website, that just acts more like a standalone app than a traditional scrolling website. And that's what we have. So you can actually get to this live, looking at this domain, https s166.903.gridserver.com, which is the access domain for the digital art and design department, and then /AR-framework, and that will show us our splash screen. And the splash screen was actually put together with Adobe Animate. So this can really be anything that you want it to be. This can be an animation, this can have interactivity and sound. Ultimately, when we go into the AR, we just leave this and have the entire screen taken over by the camera at that point to do the AR detection. So really have a lot of creative leeway with what you'd like to do on this screen. Although the splash screen and the graphics are assembled with Adobe Animate, the functionality of the application is built with JavaScript and with the help of some JavaScript frameworks like Create.js, which is directly tied to Animate. Create.js is used by Animate to automatically generate JavaScript that can be read by browsers on the web out of the graphics and interactivity that you lay out and publish in Animate. It's been around for a very long time, it's very stable. Then we add Zim.js, which is an addition to or add-on current library that has a fantastic suite of tools and toys for creative coding. And then the actual augmented reality part of it is built on top of a virtual reality platform called A-Frame, which has a really powerful suite of tools. And then Mind AR is a augmented reality framework built on top of A-Frame that helps pull it all together. There's a couple other small JavaScript frameworks in use, and we'll take a closer look at the JavaScript files in the next video when we take a look at the file structure. One of the main and basic requirements of a web app is to make sure that it has a responsive interface. That is, to make sure that it's going to look good on any screen size, shape, or orientation. So we can test that to a certain degree inside of Chrome here by right-clicking and choosing Inspect to enter the development tools, where you can see the underlying HTML and CSS amongst other things. And we can click on this button over here to toggle on the device toolbar. And that will give us the opportunity to specifically look at how this interface will respond and look at other screen sizes. So if we want to see how it looks like on an iPhone, could even rotate it and see how that's affected. Okay, we could take a look at a smaller device like a Moto G4, smaller, older phone. Or we could even go to like an iPad Air, take a look at a tablet, bring this down to 50% so we can see it on the screen, see how that fits. So overall, it shifts around a little, but moves and looks pretty good at all these different sizes. In fact, we can go to responsive, and I'll put it back to 100% here, and now we can drag around and just see it at really any size. I can see how it will scale down if it needs to. It will also just kind of scale out this black bar that was built in just much wider than the screen needs to be. So if it gets wider, then that kind of has the effect of filling in the extra space there. So this basic functionality of scaling to the screen size is built into the framework. So when you put your splash screen in here, you shouldn't have to worry about much, but depending on the specific design, you may need to tinker a little bit to get the effect that you want to make sure that the most important pieces are always there on the screen. So another aspect of a web app is the ability to be installed. Now, this varies in how it's implemented across devices and browsers. On a desktop, Chrome may be one of the only browsers that actually will install a web application. There's this little button up here that I can click on. It will prompt me if it registers as a progressive web app, and it'll ask me, do I want to install this? Say, sure, I can install this. And it goes ahead and it opens it then in a separate window. And it actually opens up my user Chrome apps folder and shows me where the app icon is, so I can put a shortcut to this in my toolbar, or if you have a different operating system, you could look and see where Chrome stores its Chrome apps. So that's kind of cool. It's not super useful for this particular app on desktop, so I'll open it right back up as it closed the tab when it opened that window. But this becomes much more prevalent on mobile devices. So we can take a look at an iPhone simulator here on my Mac. And iPhones have allowed a web app for a long time through Safari. There isn't any kind of automatic prompting, although you could program one in to do so. But what the process is to click this button here and then to go down and click Add to Home Screen. And here we can go ahead and add it, and then we could launch from the home screen like any app on iOS. Shows us a splash screen, and there we have our full screen app. Okay, it works a little bit differently on Android. On Chrome and Firefox and I believe Edge, there is a prompt that comes up. I'm going to turn on the webcam just through our app so I can show you my Android phone. And here it is, and you can see down there at the bottom there's a little prompt that says add KCAD AR to home screen. So the first time this loads and we interact with the screen, it prompts us to add it, and then we can add an icon to the home screen of the Android device just as easily. So those are the two main aspects: being able to be responsive to any device screen as well as be installable, so it's easier to launch your app from someone's device that wants to reuse it more all the time, and have, there's lots of statistics about user retention and customer gains and whatnot based on having an app icon on your screen instead of having to find a bookmark or have to type it into a URL bar in the browser. So there are other aspects of progressive web apps. This does have some aspects of caching and offline capabilities that we probably won't go into because they're just kind of working for us behind the scenes, but aren't really a major part of the user experience. So we'll wrap this up for now, and with the next video we will take a look at the individual files and the file structure that puts this application together.